Is this going to work here, folks? Yeah. Good. Bonsoir tout le monde. Hi. Well, thank you for being here. We've just finished up a very productive day of discussions and meetings here in Korea. Nous avons une journée très productive, des réunions avec le président de la Corée, par exemple. On a fait une belle tournée de l'établissement qui manufacture les sous-marins. We were able to have lunch with the President of Korea, have a long discussion about many elements of our relationship, toured the facility that produces submarines, and I think more importantly, we signed the first ever Canada-Korea Security and Defense Partnership Agreement. This is a profound investment on both sides to be able to build on the relationship that we've had with the Korea for over 60 years. Let's not forget over 26,000 Canadians fought in the Korean War. Some 516 died. So the Korean people, the Korean government, the president reminded us over lunch how indebted they feel. But this is a long-standing relationship here in the region. So it's a relationship that we're building on. So I was very pleased to see that this new agreement was in fact ratified, signed up. We're ready to go to build on it. So I'll just take any questions you might have about the meetings that have taken place and go from there.
The submarine program does not have an approved budget by the federal government. How can you go shopping for submarines when there is no budget?
Canada's committed to meeting its 2% GDP target by March 31st. We're well on our way. It's also committed to achieve a 5% target by 2035. That's well underway. And the financing for the submarines will be part of that process. The good news is we've down-selected from 5 to 2 manufacturers, one here in Korea, one in Germany. The Prime Minister and I have had a chance to visit both sites. A very productive time spent, I think, meeting with the manufacturers, the executives, the engineers, touring the facilities. So we're well on our way to conducting this procurement, and it's underway, and it'll take its course. Écoute, comme je viens justement de dire, le 2% du PIB, nous allons, sans hésitation, je peux vous dire que d'ici le 31 mars, nous allons atteindre le 2%. Nous avons aussi ratifié le 5% qui a été négocié à l'OTAN, qui va être mis en place d'ici 2035. Et le financement pour l'équipement dont on approvisionne éventuellement pour les forces armées canadiennes, l'argent va être pris de ce montant. Donc on est bel et bien, tout est en marche. Nous avons pris une décision il y a quelques mois d'accélérer l'achat des sous-marins, puis de procéder avec 2 compagnies au lieu de 5. Et voilà, on est rendu ici, après une visite en Allemagne, le Premier ministre et moi, nous sommes ici pour faire une visite semblable ici avec le manufacturier Hanwha, qui n'est pas loin d'ici. C'est une visite très productive, on a beaucoup appris.
Qu'est-ce que vous avez pensé des sous-marins?
Bien, ce sont des sous-marins, mais les sous-marins comme équipement, c'est incroyable ce qu'un sous-marin doit faire. C'est un peu comme un avion de chasse en dessous de l'eau. Donc, on a vu la même chose en Allemagne. C'est compliqué. Les ingénieurs impliqués sont évidemment brillants. C'est pas facile, c'est pas évident de construire un sous-marin. Ça prend du temps. Mais aujourd'hui, on a vu une présentation importante et ça va nous aider avec le processus de l'approvisionnement. Well, I think there'll be a number of factors. Remember, we have taken the time to stand up a new procurement agency for Canada. We have a CEO that will begin, I think, in early November or mid-November. They'll be involved, of course, in this entire process. Factors like industrial benefits for the country, the use of Canadian inputs, materials like steel, the timeliness of the delivery of a submarine, for example, will be important for us. Long-term servicing of the submarines, interoperability of the submarine, not just between Canada and the manufacturer, but other countries that may be in possession of the same submarines. So, for example, let's say you are utilizing a submarine that ends up in another country. If it needs servicing, then it's the same submarine. There could be an interchangeability in terms of engineers, repairs, servicing. So those are the kinds of factors that the team will be examining closely.
You didn't say manufacturing the submarines in Canada, so that's not a consideration at all?
Look, the concept of manufacturing submarines in Canada is one that comes from the question of industrial benefits. We're well on the way right now in terms of conducting this procurement with 2 established manufacturers, one in Germany and one here in Korea. And having visited both of their facilities, I can say this: standing up a manufacturing site for submarines is not an uncomplicated thing. It's a very big issue. And of course, I think our Admiral this morning spoke to this clearly when he said he needs submarines in short order, not in 35 years. And it takes time to stand up that kind of facility. So I think we're moving forward now. That this process is well underway, and it's going to take its course.
Will procuring the submarines be delayed if you don't pass a budget?
Well, I think all government procurement would be delayed if we didn't pass a budget. But I have every confidence that we will pass the budget. I think that we will earn the respect and the support in the House. It's a question of negotiation. It's a question of making sure that we are reflecting priorities for different members of Parliament. We're doing that. Oui, on est optimiste qu'on va être en mesure de passer le budget. Nous sommes en train de travailler très fort avec les autres partis, les autres représentants, pour évidemment avoir l'appui nécessaire. Ce n'est pas toujours évident dans un gouvernement minoritaire, mais on est confiant que nous allons gagner l'appui d'autres partis et on aura plus à dire là-dessus bientôt, mais évidemment, on va attendre les votes.
Do you expect the budget will put in place money to take us to 5%?
I think what we'll be doing in the budget is laying track to meet the 5% target by 2035. I think we're very clear about this commitment. Not just ourselves, but all of our NATO partners are committed to achieving that target. So we're well on our way. We're certainly well on our way to achieving the 2% target spending by March 31st. And then, of course, what comes after that in terms of the sequencing of procurements will be important. And it's also important to remember that not every procurement is a front-page procurement. There are many procurements that are going on that are smaller in value, that are fundamentally important to the operation of the Canadian Armed Forces. This is important to remember as we rebuild and rearm 33 bases, and we improve housing, and we work on water and sanitation systems and equipment and kit and ammunition and rifles. This is all underway. It's many, many moving parts. So we're certainly committed to and moving forward in that front.
What kind of industrial benefits did the South Koreans propose to you today that they bring to you?
Well, look, there'd be a series of those. Some of that would remain confidential. We'll leave that to the folks who are conducting the procurement back at the new agency. There'll be a degree of expertise there that can really help pull this together. But you would imagine, some of the big expected areas, for example, like industrial benefits that involve the sourcing of Canadian steel and supplies and inputs. And the Prime Minister has spoken about buying Canadian, both in terms of steel and aluminum. So that's not a surprise. I think for both submarine manufacturers, they would be looking at that. Obviously, the question of servicing these vessels over time. I mean, remember, this is a long-term investment. We're talking 30, 40, maybe even 50 years. So once you buy a vessel like a submarine, you know that it's going to require servicing. You know that you're going to have to retrofit, in our case, Halifax and Esquimalt, BC, to be able to receive them and to service them. So they would be involved in those kinds of investments as well. Standing up, for example, perhaps an entire service setting for the submarines. But all that remains to be seen. It's a question of negotiation, following the procurement that's in place, and it's going to take its course. And as far as I'm concerned, it's working well. Sorry.
What did you learn today, Minister, that you didn't know about the Hanwha proposal before?
I think we learned that Hanwha is a very serious company. It's very dedicated. It is It's an interesting company, but it also reflects, I think, what we're learning about Korea, which is why we inked the deal today, this new security and defense agreement. There is huge potential in this relationship between Canada and Korea, huge potential. On artificial intelligence, for example, it is incredible how much the Koreans will be investing in AI going forward. In cryptography, in quantum, it's incredible how much they're going to be investing in terms of not just pure, but also applied research. So I think the Hanwha tour reflected an approach in Korea, which is very, very important for Canada. This deal that we've signed is so important because it will allow our members of the CAF, the Canadian Armed Forces, to participate in different training, in different activities, sharing of equipment, platforms that we're building on. We've got about 20 Canadian companies already doing business in Korea in the defense sphere, many Korean companies doing business in Canada, a major lithium factory in Canada owned by the Koreans. So this is going to help us dig deeper and wider in that relationship. That's important because ultimately we need to make sure that we are engaged more fulsomely in this region. And we've chosen Korea, we've chosen Korea for a reason. This is the first big defense agreement in the Indo-Pacific region. We've chosen Korea. Last question.
Returning to the question that Murray had about the budget for this particular project, should I take your answer to mean that you essentially have a blank check because you need to hit 2%?
No, we don't have a blank check. We have a plan. And right now, from what I can see, the plan is working, and we're executing on that plan. We committed to spending to achieve the 2% target because it's the responsible thing to do, because we're joining our NATO allies in doing so, because many things have changed in Canada. Our geography no longer protects us, nor our geography no longer isolates us from the threat landscape, which is changing. So our commitment to achieve the 2% is firm. Our commitment to move to 3.5 and then 5 by 2035 is certainly also firm. So wait for the budget. It's coming out on the 4th. I think you'll see these numbers reflected, and I'm confident we'll get that support. Thank you very much. Thank you.